in the UK. It's 12 p.m. Eastern, and I do believe it's 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And this is the first time that you've seen myself with Stevie Knight as I unveil. Oh, yes, there we are. Right, just give a moment for people to actually join us and find us, because Facebook actually can take a few seconds to let everybody know that we've gone live.
That sounds good.
Right, do you want to? Which show do you actually run at the moment on Belive?
Pardon me?
Which show? Do you have a show on Belive at the moment?
Not right now. No, I'll be relaunching it in about 2 weeks.
So and what's the show?
It's called On My Way to Fabulous, and it's really to help probably mostly midlife women reinvent their lives intentionally.
And
So,
what have you decided on a day that will broadcast?
I have not yet. No.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, so welcome to everybody who's joining us. Welcome to the show. And I suppose the best place to start, because we're doing this show together for the first time, is if you could just sort of say I know you're in Colorado, but if you want to sort of do an introductory speech, and I'll do mine, I'll be fair, and we'll take it from there. Yeah.
That sounds good. Well, I am in Colorado, and it's 10 o'clock here. Last time I talked to you, I was on Pacific time because I was traveling, and now that I'm back, it's just 10 o'clock. So I still have another hour to go before it's 11 o'clock. So that's great. I think you just gave me an extra hour to my day. But I'm a business owner and an entrepreneur, and I do most of what I do online. And so it's hey, Fernando, awesome to see you here. Thanks for joining us. So most of what I do is online, and my goal really is to encourage people to live an intentional life, and that includes most of the time marketing and entrepreneurship and all sorts of different topics that are really important to women reinventing their lives in midlife.
Got it. Now, I do know that you have a family as well.
I do. I have 5 kids, so it's kind of crazy. There's only one still home. She's 16, but it seems to me that with the other 4 who are out of the nest, I still spend almost as much time with them on the phone and doing different things with them as I did when they were in the house. But I think most parents know what that's like with adult children.
Indeed, it is. My youngest son is in Melbourne in Australia, and they emigrated there 5 years ago, and they are now Australian citizens. And my eldest son is in Lancashire, which is, if you've heard of Manchester in England, and it's just north of there. And yes, parents' duties are never over.
That's right.
Not duties, perhaps not the right word. Say hello to Fernando and to Jason. And if anybody wants to join us on camera and chat to myself and Stevie, then please do so. And I've broken something. Right, so I've done the introduction. Type guest to join us on camera, and you can do so. And this is Talk Show with Steven and Stevie. Now, I was trying to get it the right way around, you see, to get it sounding right. I think we can experiment with that, can't we?
That's right, absolutely.
Do it one way 1 week, and then change around the following week, and then we'll really confuse people.
That's right.
And say hello to Diana. Diana, it's nice to see you. If you want to, so if anybody wants to join us, then just type guest to actually join us on camera. Now, we were speaking earlier about what's coming up, and coming up pretty soon. In fact, in August is the 5 days live online training, which is with myself, and in no particular order, it's with RJ, Annie, Erin, Linda. I'm going to miss somebody out here, I know. Cheryl and Mr. David Burrows, I think. Okay, the picture's too small for me to read. So you've got 8 people involved. We'll be broadcasting live from Monday, the 6th of August through to the 10th of August. 10 a.m. Eastern each day, different topic each day, all relating to live video. And we look forward to seeing you. More details on that later. There is a link to the show and to get details on the live video hub page if you want to go there. And I'll take that down and we'll come back and talk to people. So say hello to Tish. Tish, thank you for joining us. And the aforementioned RJ is watching too. Hello, RJ. I'd like to say hello to John Upton as well.
Have everybody here.
Actually, yeah. So, but basically, as we find, people come along during the show and pop in on camera and join us. Now, we did agree a topic before we started that you would love to talk about, and that is marketing challenges that people may have, especially the live broadcasters. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think one of the challenges I know for me is, everybody has marketing challenges, and it seems to me that they kind of go in waves. That you'll be going along just fine, and then all of a sudden you have several challenges all at once. And I don't know about you, but sometimes it's hard to know which one do I address first, which one's kind of the linchpin of it that I need to address first. Have you ever had those challenges?
Oh yeah, totally. It's very, marketing is very difficult. It doesn't come naturally. If you're not a marketing person, then it's very difficult to actually get going. There are always obstacles in the way, either real or imagined.
Right, and then just like what you just said, either real or imagined. If you're not, I love marketing. I just enjoy it. I breathe it. It's truly something I love. But even I can imagine that if it's not something that you really enjoy, that there's a tendency to really try to push it aside and try to avoid dealing with that challenge head on because you're just not quite sure where to start. And, and that I think it's perhaps even more difficult if it's not a natural thing to you.
Totally agree. Say hello to Cheryl, who's one of the magnificent 8 who will be broadcasting between August 6th and 10th. Yeah, I think if marketing doesn't come naturally, would you suggest outsourcing your marketing?
I think it depends on what stage you're in your business. Most solopreneurs need to at least have some basic understanding of it. I really generally recommend that people either go through a course of some kind, even if it's just a short introductory course on, Creative Live or Udemy, or there's lots of different places. I have courses, and I recommend that, especially if somebody's not comfortable with marketing, that they at least try one of these courses and just get their feet wet and just get a basic idea of the big picture. And then if they can afford to and want to outsource, then it's fabulous, because if you can focus on what your strength really is, that's really awesome. I think for most solopreneurs, and I think my feeling is a lot of the people that we're talking to here today are solopreneurs. For most of them, they're gonna have to be, it's like you're the chief cook and bottle washer and busser and everything else. And so you're gonna have to at least have a good enough understanding of marketing so that when you hire somebody, you've got an idea of whether they're on the right track at all or not. And I think that's can be a little overwhelming to a solopreneur, because you might have a little bit of hesitancy on hiring somebody, but that can be a great process too, a great learning process. But if it's not something you enjoy and you have the funds to outsource it, I think that's the best idea.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned something which is music to my ears, and that is Udemy.
Mm-hmm.
And how long have you had courses on there?
I don't have any courses there.
Oh, sorry.
I have courses, but I don't have courses on Udemy. But I've taken courses there, and I've recommended them to others. And, they're just, generally speaking, well organized. I think a lot of people use them as, kind of a way to get people in their marketing funnel. So it's not always the most advanced courses, but that's great because then you really do get a great introduction to different topics in marketing, and then you can go deeper if you want to with that instructor or with somebody else. Have you taken courses there?
I've got, as people watching this know, I've got courses on there, all about live video. And one of the main courses we have on there, Tina Shang and I did a course which is called Belive in 5, and it's 5 steps to going live on Belive.tv. And we're fortunate to have 4,500 students have taken the course and learned how to use Belive.tv.
Wow.
And we just build on that, because basically that's the sort of where it all began. And Belive TV is just an amazing platform to actually use. Right, if anybody wants to join Steve and I on camera, the other thing about this is it's easy to remember your name. Type guest and you can join us on camera. You can come and chat with Steve and I about any topic that takes your interest. And yeah. Right, okay, now where do we go from there? I've just done an experiment. Do you podcast at all? You don't have to.
I have in the past, and I will be doing that again, and I loved it. I thought that was a blast.
Well, my fellow podcaster is RJ Redden, and in addition to Messenger Bots, she has her own podcast. And pretty soon, RJ, her own course on Udemy. That's just a subtle reminder. But today I did an experiment. Anchor FM is fantastic because now with the desktop version, you can use the setup that we've got today here on Belive.tv, and you can just record a podcast. But being a video person by nature, I decided that at the same time, I would record a short video so that using the same microphone, just the same camera. Okay, I'll just saying that reminder was not subtle at all.
That's good.
Okay, I won't do it again. I promise I'll be good. Just a reminder, yeah, RJ is the chatbot queen, and right. RJ and I Messenger bots are the marketing tool of choice. And RJ and I will have a show at 12 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, and looking forward to that as well. So yeah, podcasting on Anchor and FM is free, and your podcast travels the world. It goes over to iTunes, all free of charge, and it's an amazing system to use. But this time I coupled it with Twitch TV, went live on Twitch at the same time. So as well as having the audio, you've got the video too, which you can then put onto YouTube. So I'm doing a bit of experimenting with that, but it is a 2-for-1. It's as easy to look at the camera while you're speaking and do a video recording as it is to just do the one. And of course, what you don't need to do then is you've got the video recording. If you want the MP3, it's on Anchor FM. So it saves the bother of having to take the audio out of the video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's kind of cool. Did it slow down your computer at all, doing it on several platforms at the same time?
Well, fortunately, no. I used vMix, which is quite good as far as the pressure on the internet and pressure on the CPU is concerned. So I was broadcasting through vMix to Twitch, and Anchor FM doesn't take up any space at all because it's only an audio recording. So it's very easy to do. And I think it's something that I will repeat next week. Though I'm not going to do a podcast today. I'm already doing the live video show a day. So I'm going to do the podcast every Monday, sort of mid-morning time.
Well, okay. You know, when you're talking about marketing challenges, I think you're hitting on something right there, doing it on several platforms at the same time. You're multi-purpose, you're creating content for several different platforms at the same time. I think that anytime we can do that, I mean, it's a win. More people get to discover us, and it just makes the whole marketing piece that we talked about it just makes it that much easier. And then if you're outsourcing too, sorry, but if you're outsourcing too, that gives your virtual assistant or your social media person, that gives them one more piece of content to spread everywhere. And even though it's the same piece of content, it's from another platform. And so it's amazing how having it in several different places just allows, new people to discover you and your content.
Okay. Now, before we got together, I had a look at your video channel, and you've been involved in video for quite some time. How did it all begin? How did it all begin, and how do you feel as live versus recorded?
That's a really interesting question. I think I really enjoy live video, but there is a sense of the intensity of the pressure, you know what I mean? Where you know that this is it. There's no retakes or whatever. You could edit the final version if you really wanted to for some reason, for to put it up on a different platform. But there is something about the immediacy of it that both increases the pressure on you, kind of, but it also makes it requires you to be a little more succinct. And so I think that's probably a big advantage of going live. I don't know about you, but when I'm making recorded videos, I tend to feel like I have to be more polished. I feel, I've got to do 10 takes or 20 or 30 to do that 2-minute video, or whatever, because it just feels like I need to finish with a better product, or what seems in my mind like a better product. And if you're doing it live, there's a little more pressure in one sense, but there's less also because you don't have to keep redoing it. It's done, and it's a great feeling.
Well, it is, because there is a vast difference between recorded video and live video. Well, there are probably several. One is that if we misspeak now, then it's in the recording and it will stay. And if we say anything at all, it's in the recording, it will stay. Yeah. Whereas on live videos, you just said what you actually want to do is you want to create the perfect video. And you want every video that you ever do to be perfect and better than the one you did last time. Mm-hmm. And I'm a member of a group, which I won't name, and there are people in there who spend hours creating a 5-minute video. Right. And they're perfecting it, and it works. But I'd rather go live and make the mistakes. I mean, always with a live show, you've got a sort of before the show, and especially today, for both of us, I think, there's a sort of nervousness about coming on camera and co-hosting a show for the first time. And that's the nervousness that actually drives you forward.
Right, exactly. So it actually can be fuel for you, for the content that you're doing, it can be really good fuel.
Yeah. Now, when you're doing a live show, do you actually script it?
I usually have a structure. It's not scripted, but I do have a structure, and I usually have bullet points that are just one-word bullet points, because I want to make sure that I get specific content out there. One of the challenges that I've found with live video is interacting with people. So what I've chosen to do, I know a lot of people do a great job interacting with people at the same time, but for my own shows, I generally don't do that, because I feel like my brain has to go on 2 channels at the same time. And so when I'm trying to deliver content, it depends on the purpose of your show, probably. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure it does. And you've had a lot of experience with that. But for me, when I'm doing a live broadcast, it really is intended more to deliver specific content than it is to create that live interaction. So for me, I usually tell people ahead of time, I probably won't be interacting with you. I'm not going to be welcoming you, generally speaking, because my brain kind of has a tendency, or at least maybe it's just experience. It feels like I'm going to not remember where I was and not be able to deliver real solid content. And maybe that's just experience.
True. As people will tell you watching the show today, I sometimes do get lost, and I need somebody to come back, bring me back on track. And that's why I prefer to actually be on the show with several people on the show, so that if I do fluff it, then there's somebody got my back. And Jason's saying, just to come back to the point we're talking about perfection, and if you are dealing in recorded video, Jason is saying, but sometimes it would be good for your brand to put in the extra effort. If I don't think we would agree with that, would we?
I would definitely agree with that. I mean, let's say it's your video for your opt-in page, for your landing page, you're definitely going to want to, to me, that's one that you're going to put that effort in. And if it takes, 40 times to get a 5-minute video that looks good, that's what I'm going to do. I think it's a little different for live, for the purposes for that live video is so great for. I think it's just a little bit different, and you still, put in effort, and that's why I say, I've got a little bit of a script and a little bit of an outline, but it takes some pressure off. It's funny because it adds pressure because you're live and you can't redo it, and there are times when you can get stuck and your brain just might freeze up. It hasn't happened to me yet, but I know it could. Just like when you're speaking, I've done some public speaking as well. That theoretically, or at least, you've heard of where people freeze up and can't think of what they're going to say. Generally speaking, that's never been a problem for me. I've always got another idea in the back of my mind that I can hop onto pretty quickly. But that immediacy of being live, like using Belive, is, I think, great fuel. And if I felt that I really could connect with people and use that live, like actually what you're doing today, what we're doing today, where you're also actually connecting with people who are coming in, I think that's great. And maybe, doing it in a co-host fashion, maybe that does help get back on track, and you can kind of nudge each other back to the topic at hand.
It basically it works so well. I mean, if you take a show, if you're doing a 30-minute show and it's just you, then you have to talk for 30 minutes. If there are two of you, then you each talk for 15. So half the load is shared. And if you get guests coming onto the show, then the load is shared even more. And it makes an experience. And just if anybody would like to join us on camera, please do type guest and you can come in and join us. Okay, now you are in Colorado. Now I'm a foreigner. I am literally a foreigner. I am in the UK. So could you tell me a little bit about Colorado?
Colorado is beautiful. I'm actually kind of a foreigner too, but I've been here a long time, but I was born and raised in France. So it's very different from the places that I was raised. And although I'm from the south of France, and there's a lot of the topography, there are some places, like in Southern California, there are some places in Colorado that are like that. The very dry places, the types of pine trees that grow here, sometimes you can find them in the south of France too. But Colorado has a very, or at least my area is very dry. And so for us, it's great. I think it's a fabulous climate. I know people think of snow and skiing here, and there is a lot of that, but it's about 2 hours away from where I am. And for our climate, it doesn't get too hot in the summer most of the time, and it doesn't get too cold in the winter because of the dryness. So it's a really ideal place, and the economy is booming. It's one of the most actively growing economies in the United States, and so it's a great place for entrepreneurs to be. I've had the fun of meeting entrepreneurs lately, more so. I've mostly worked online, so most of my connections have been because of social media or video. But I'm trying to get out more in my own community and meet people, and it's just a great bunch of people that I've been meeting here. Very entrepreneurial, very motivated, and very creative, and love it. And people love to try new platforms and new technology, and I love that.
I love the real world networking too. Are you close to? I've got a reason for asking, but are you close to Fort Collins?
I'm about 2 hours south of it. Denver.
Right. Okay. I'm getting because when you live somewhere, people say, "Well, do you know?" If I was to live in London, people would ask you, "Do you know so and so?"
Right.
So my question to you would be, "Do you know Vincent Burkhardt?"
Because
he lives in Colorado too.
Okay. I get how that is.
Yeah.
And occasionally you find out you know somebody, so that's kind of funny when that happens too.
Oh yeah, yeah, true. I mean, we're living in a world which is getting smaller and smaller, and I mean, it's quite a journey from whereabouts in the south of France.
It was Aix-en-Provence. It's
Ah,
half an hour from the
magnifique.
Mediterranean. Yeah, it's half an hour
Charmant.
from the Mediterranean. It's beautiful.
It is a beautiful area of the world. For about 11 years, we used to leave Manchester in England, go down to Dover, and then
Okay.
we used to get the ferry across to Belive, or then eventually we actually got the channel over to France, and then used to drive from there right down to Fréjus and spend our summer holidays in Fréjus and
Yeah,
going along the coast between Fréjus and Nice and Cannes, and just a
beautiful.
beautiful area of the world.
Yeah, yeah. And Tish is right. Joel is right down. He's not. He's about an hour away from me. Yeah.
Okay, so you are multilingual then?
Yeah. Well, bilingual at least.
Well, basically, when you do travel, it is good to have a second language, isn't it? I mean, in France, just go back to France for a moment. You're actually taught English at the same time as French.
Pardon me?
You are taught English in
Oh yes.
school.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, but in sixth grade, you usually take a second. You usually take another language, usually plus Latin, or Greek. They
Mhm.
call them dead languages, but I think they're awesome tools for just for education. They're great. And then in seventh or eighth grade, you usually often add a third language. That's about when I left France. So I left in ninth grade. So I only was, I took English as an easy A because I was raised with both languages in my home. So that was, I probably
And
should have done something else.
I have to ask, do you speak Latin?
I don't speak Latin, but the fact that I studied Latin means that I can read medical journals and legal documents, and it makes a huge difference.
I,
And
I,
it's not like I've studied it in depth, but just those 2 years I think I had of Latin make a huge difference in just being able to approach almost any subject if you understand those root words that have so impacted the English language.
you are the first person I've met in years with whom I can totally agree. Because about Latin, because Latin is a very special language. It's not a spoken language. Italian has gone far beyond whatever Latin was, but the Latin is the basis of a lot of the words that we actually use on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know the Latin phrases, and you can, well, I mean, the Romans were the first. Well, I'm going to get this wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. The first nation to actually conjugate verbs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in English, we don't have conjugations like I, you, he, she,
We
they.
don't do that very much, not compared to French. In French, you do a lot of that. And in Spanish, when you're learning Spanish, I know I can understand Spanish. They do some of that when they're teaching it formally as well. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
language is fascinating. I mean, it is the basis for being able to read. I mean, to be able to read a book in French or a book in German, then you've got a grounding, and you're actually seeing things from somebody else's perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you think
Uh,
about marketing challenges, which theoretically is the topic of our show today, I think, when you think just about the ease, if you're comfortable reading, if you're comfortable in acquiring new information, whether you have studied Latin or not, it makes a big difference in feeling that you can kind of overcome any marketing challenge because there's always somebody out there. Maybe they're not live and easily accessible to you at a particular time, but there's always books, there's articles, there's so much content available out there to solve our marketing challenges. And then on top of that, then you have these, shows like this where people can come on and get an answer to their marketing challenge if they want, or at least brainstorm about it. And I think that's an incredible advantage of the technology that we have today.
Totally agree. And if anybody does want to join us, please do type guest, and you can join us on camera and chat about anything. But specifically, if you've got any marketing questions, or marketing challenges that you'd like to talk about, then come on and chat to Stevie and I about them. Now, I just want to segue for a moment. I want to go onto something which is totally European, or it's not American. I just want to talk about it for a couple of minutes. So, and that's the World Cup is taking place at the moment, and there are 4 teams left in it. The French are there, the Belgians,
Right.
The French team are in the World Cup in Moscow. Right, soccer, football.
Right.
It's the World Cup at the moment. It starts off with 32 teams. We're down to the last 4, and of the last 4, France and Belgium are 2, and third is England, and fourth is Croatia. Tomorrow is the semi-finals where England will play Croatia, and I'd just like to give a shout out to the England team and wish them well for tomorrow. My prediction is that they will win 1-0 and that they will play France in the final on Sunday. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, that's great. That would be awesome.
It would that would be quite a match, because you've got 2 sort of totally different styles of playing, and the youngsters who are playing for us. I mean, when we actually set off on this journey 4 weeks ago, if you'd asked anybody in England, will England appear in the semi-finals, then the answer would have been no. Because there are so many good teams around the world, and I could name them: Germany, France, Belgium, Italy, Spain, all of whom are top-class teams. Argentina, not forgetting Argentina as well, and Brazil.
Right.
So to actually be in the final 4 is absolutely brilliant, and I wish them well tomorrow. I'm looking forward to watching the final on Sunday between France and England.
And that would be the best. I think if those 2 countries were opposite each other, that would probably be one of the biggest viewer draws ever. When you think just historically, the way each country really thinks they're the best, and I think there's something about England and France where there's this natural hopefully mostly somewhat friendly antagonism. But that could be a really hot battle.
Totally. I mean, the history between England and France goes back centuries, doesn't it? And we are these days. I mean, we are friendly these days towards each other, and it is just. I'm a Francophile. I love France. I love traveling to France. I love being in France and meeting people, and French cuisine. Well, I mean, did you take any of that to Colorado with you?
I enjoy cooking. I don't do a lot of it, but I'd like to do actually more of it. And the way I cook is kind of a mishmash of American and Southern French. The Provençal. It's a lot like Northern Italy's and Spanish, kind of that Mediterranean flavor. So I love it. It's great. Good stuff. But there are things British. It's funny, we go into some stores with my kids and they'll see there's a whole section on British, flags and notebooks with British flags on them and all that. And kids go crazy for it. And of course we're complete Doctor Who fans. And so anytime we can pick up some of that type of kind of kitschy, fun item, we love that too. And our family has a lot of British blood in it, so we kind of get the best of several worlds, I'd say.
Yeah, Doctor Who. Now you're talking.
Yeah.
I mean, the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? People are waiting for the new Doctor.
Yeah.
And they're waiting with bated breath because for the first time ever, the new Doctor Who is a lady. Mm-hmm. And I think the audience is split, and it's split down the middle between those who are quite happy, for the Doctor to metamorphose into a lady, not a problem. But there are diehard Whovians, as Doctor Who fans are called, who are against it.
Right. It'll be interesting. And when you think about marketing. They've done such an amazing job. They really have taken advantage of that niche thing. They're great evidence of that, the fact that niche marketing is really where you get your fans that are connected to everything you do and say. I mean, they really are a great example of that. And I think all of us could follow that example of really taking seriously the fact that it's really important to think about who you want to repel at the same time as who you want to attract. And, you know, the producers of the show have done a great job in even using polarization, even with their own fans, to, you know, to continue that, to stir things up and stir up interest and conversation online. I think that's just absolutely genius. Whether you like their choices or not, it's genius.
There is on Facebook, there are most things, but there's a Facebook group. It's a Doctor Who group, and that is one of the most hyperactive forums I've ever been in. And the people write their own scripts.
Okay.
And they're, you know, I mean, it's just absolutely fascinating to be involved in something like that, because I mean, there are conventions, aren't there? There are Doctor Who conventions. Most of the sci-fi series now have annual conventions around the globe.
Right.
I wouldn't mind going to one of those someday.
Yeah, and even the big Comic Cons have, you know, will have the actors, different actors from the show come in, and I know my kids just go crazy over that. You know, we missed the Comic Con here recently. My youngest daughter and I were traveling then, but she was so disappointed because I know one of the main actors, I can't remember which one it was going to be here. So that was kind of sad.
A chance to meet your heroes. Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, you can watch the films, you can actually see them being interviewed, but to actually go and see them there in person,
right,
is something else, isn't it?
right.
And we're fortunate that, I mean, I know that music-wise, we've still got so many groups that are touring, and they're touring the globe and doing world tours of 20, 30 cities. And these are gentlemen and ladies who, well, let's put it this way, they're getting on a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the music's still good, isn't it? The music from the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they still pack their shows, don't they?
Oh, they do. I mean, talking to marketing, it's a traveling merchandising operation.
Yeah.
Because people go to the shows and they actually buy the merchandise to say, I was there when.
Right.
You know. Yeah.
And, you know, you think about platforms like Belive and, you know, any kind of live broadcasting or any kind of video, or actually any kind of video or audio, you're really tapping into that that acceleration factor of, you know, being that immediacy of seeing people's faces, of hearing them in your ears. There's an intimacy, and it may not be real, you know, but there's a sense of intimacy that you get with these video and audio channels that really we're tapping into what movie producers and film producers, TV producers have been able to tap into for a long time. And now actually we're able to tap into that same thing. And it's actually amazing. It's funny. I've had people, you know, talk to me and go and say, you know, that they felt like they knew me from, you know, when I was very active doing video or podcasting or whatever. And it's always interesting because you get that sense of knowing somebody even though you actually don't know them. And it's amazing that we can leverage that as marketers.
Well, I agree, but I think live video is quite possibly the best form of networking. And you can get people involved. You can get people to type guest and come on camera, little things like that. But it is networking at its best, because you described meeting people in your local area, and that's probably the best form of networking. But the second best, because we can't travel the globe, is to actually come live on video and speak to people around the world and to get to know them. Because as well as creating the video, you also watch video too.
Right. And there are people you can connect with through social media that most of us would not have access to otherwise. I mean, the conversations that go on behind the scenes via private message and private conversations after you've connected through video or audio or whatever your content production is really amazing. And the fact that we can do this for, most platforms are free, or, some of our tools cost, but it's amazing that we can leverage that.
Totally. So, in terms of, let's just go through the social media networks. Twitter. How do you feel about Twitter? Is it still useful?
It's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day who said with Instagram's changes, they were really they had lost a lot of reach, because Instagram has this thing where they don't share it much to your network unless there are a lot of comments. Well, there aren't a lot of comments if they're not sharing it. So I had somebody who's very active on Instagram say that they were thinking I'm actually considering going back to Twitter. And it's funny because people keep saying that Twitter's dead, but it keeps breathing, it keeps breathing. And I was on and very active years ago when it first started. I'm not super active on it, very much right now. And I'm launching a completely new project over the next 10 days. So when that launches, I will be active again on Twitter as well as Instagram and, and Facebook primarily. So it'll be interesting to see how that works now, because I loved using Twitter. I think I was really active on it about 7 or 8 years ago. It'll be interesting to see how it feels different from how it did back then. Do you use a lot?
I tweet a lot.
Okay.
Do I have conversations? I don't think so. When Twitter first started, you could sort of post something and somebody would reply to it, and then you get a conversation going, and 7 or 8 tweets later, exchange between you, felt like you'd actually been spoken to a human.
Right.
Now, I think the difficulty is that if you use broadcasting, it's a broadcast medium, and people send out messages for people to read. I mean, I'm guilty of it as anybody. Every time I put a new video on YouTube, I send a tweet out, and people go and watch the video. Well, some people go and watch the video, but the art of conversation seems to have been lost on Twitter. I do know of people who actually run Twitter chats, sort of the hour-long format, 6 questions.
I've one of those. I mean, I've participated in them. I've never run them, and that was a lot of fun. And there, the conversation really got rolling.
Totally, because you're all centered around the subject, and you want to answer the questions because you want your views to be heard. And the hour-long chats are one way of making Twitter still work. Mm-hmm. And I know several people who actually run those quite successfully and do get engagement. But getting engagement in a normal day-to-day sense on Twitter. In terms of Instagram, which you just mentioned, will you be doing videos on Instagram? Because now we can do hour-long videos.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I haven't been super active on Instagram, so I'll be building my following, especially with this new project, from scratch. So it'll be interesting to see how much I can leverage it, because I know you have to have a certain size in order to be able to access the longer format. So I'm going to use the shorter format as long as I, definitely as much as I can, because I think that's another huge leverage point. Anytime people can see our eyes, watch our expressions, it's just they get a chance to accelerate that know, like, and trust factor.
Totally agree. If anybody watching does know what the entry requirements are for Instagram TV, could you just answer in the comments, please? And then we'll have some indication. Now, you mentioned twice a new project. Is it ready for you to talk about it at all?
I can talk about it briefly. It's not. There's nothing anybody can visit for now. But I'm really excited about it because I'm going through huge transitions personally, and I'm usually focused on a specific, very niche topic, which is faith and business. And so that's a very small, very narrow niche. Really primarily, how does faith affect your marketing, your business, And, the practical as well as philosophical aspects of that is really more what I talk about. But right now I'm going through such huge changes that I thought, well, why not leverage all those changes I'm going through? Why not leverage it and just bring people along with me? Because there are so many others who, at midlife or at different points in their life of huge transition, either new job, divorce, marriage, whatever it is, they find that it really affects their whole life, including marketing if they're an entrepreneur. And so that's what I'm going to be addressing with my new project is called On My Way to Fabulous. And it's really about enjoying that journey where you're at a particular place and time and you see where you want to go. You're not there. There's a big gap between the two, and how to enjoy that journey and how to be intentional about it. So I'm looking forward to doing that. It's going to be fun.
I'm just trying to spell fabulous. Just give me a moment. Right, I'm back now, and I'm going to put the title of the project. Hopefully, I've spelled it correctly. And the project is On My Way to Fabulous. Typos are my speciality. So, especially when lying.
Right, fabulous is one of those, kind of hypey, over-the-top words. But I actually love superlatives because to me they're emotionally engaging. I know they can be really overused, and I probably overuse them because I also use lots of exclamation marks and smiley faces and winky faces, and I'm one of those people that if you don't like that, you're not going to like what I do. But I just have so much fun with it, and the whole idea that being the fabulous is kind of this ideal of what we want our lives to look like. And I remember one day my kids, I was having a very hard day, and one of my kids just asked me, kind of in passing, "How you doing, Mom?" And I just jokingly said, kind of sarcastically, "Well, I'm on my way to fabulous," And I realized actually that kind of turned something on in me. It was like, boy, I was meaning to be sarcastic, but now that I think about it, it changed my focus emotionally. And it really energized me for the day. And I'm going, that's just strange. That just sounds like, some of that, motivational, rah-rah stuff that sometimes I really love, but sometimes, especially if you're having a down day, sometimes you can just trivialize the importance of your focus of where you're going. And so that's where that On My Way to Fabulous idea came from, is that it was just so motivating to me to be intentional about my emotional focus. It doesn't mean that your days are easy. It just means that it changes the energy with which you travel your day, with which you do things. And I think you accomplish so much more when you've got an idea that the outcome is eventually going to be positive. And if it's going to be fabulous, hey, let's go for it.
Totally agree. You need to know how to get to where you want to be from where you are. And one of the things that is the problem, and it's a problem for all of us, is that we know where we want to be, but we don't know how to get there. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that's a problem. I've seen this a couple of times over the last day or so in posts, is people trying to do several things at the same time and failing spectacularly at all of them. Do you think being focused on what you're doing is the way that we should try to do things?
Yeah, and I think entrepreneurship attracts a lot of ADD personalities, and if I take any ADD tests, I score close to 100% on almost any question, and that can be both a gift and a challenge. And so if you don't map things out, at least for me, if I don't map things out and then start plugging it away at it, if I don't chunk things down, if I don't map out the big picture and then chunk down the different processes and start, working on them, but in a very single focused way, I never get anything done. And then I get very discouraged. And then that's when you think that fabulous, whatever that fabulous destination is for you, you think it's just too far off. I remember somebody showing a diagram of, when you're in all sorts of different directions versus going from point A to point B in a straight line. The only way to do that in a at least theoretical straight line is by making, consistent progress in a particular direction. And so that, I think most entrepreneurs, though we fantasize about multitasking, I think few of us actually do it well. And I think it's more of a fantasy than a real possibility if we want to really accomplish things.
for some of us, it's an impossibility. I like to focus on one thing at a time. I can procrastinate like nobody else. I don't have a problem with that. I can find myself off doing something, and then I've got to come back and refocus on what I'm supposed to be doing. But there's so many distractions around us to get involved in. But if I'm on a project like with the Live Video Hub, which is the current project, then I'm totally focused on that, and everything I do surrounds that, or at least I've persuaded myself that everything I do relates to that. I think that helps as well. Okay, now I suppose next, I just want to say this once more, just a little bit of advertising, that the 5-day, let's bring the picture up too, is that from the 6th to 10th of August, we will be doing live training online. Okay, I'll come to that in a minute, RJ. We're doing live training online, team of 8 wonderful people, all of whom know what they're talking about, which always helps. And it's every aspect of live video, from camera confidence through to repurposing. And we've got some, as I say, friends of mine who know exactly what we need to do to get from where we are to where we want to be in terms of live video. It's totally free for everybody. It's sponsored by Live Video Hub, and you can join us 6th to 10th of August, 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, and looking forward to that, because that should be a fantastic week. And RJ has just mentioned the Live Video Hub, and I just want to give a shout out. I explained earlier, Live Video Hub is, well, it's going very well. 152 shows on there at the moment, and people are broadcasting every day. If you go to the Live Video Hub, it's just like going to a TV channel. You'll find 8 to 12 shows every day, broadcast on BLIFbot.tv. You can channel hop, you can follow the shows, and using RJ Redden's discoverability bot, which we'll talk about tomorrow, you can actually find the shows. Because one of the things about doing live video, thank you, RJ. One of the things about doing live video, especially when you're starting up, is nobody knows you're there. And it's the discoverability that are getting found that we know has been a problem. I mean, we, as friends, we got started live broadcasting over 2 years ago on Blab. And we got to know each other then. And then we've been through a long journey through all the different systems, and all ended up on BLIFbot.tv in October 2016.
Yeah.
But because of the way that Facebook works, if you want to search for live video, you'll never get found. So by bringing everybody together on Live Video Hub, 150 shows, and RJ has painstakingly categorized those shows, so you can now go on the page and you can search for a show. You can search by topic. So you can go for chat shows, you can go for business shows, you can go for personal coaches, you can go for speciality, and it will tell you which shows there are, and it will give you a link to the Facebook page. It will give you a link if there's a bot running. You'll be able to message them directly, and you'll get a reminder for the show. Now, the reminder for the show is something RJ and I are thinking about at the moment. I'll be with you very shortly. Just watch this space. Yeah. Do you use Messenger at all, Stevie, to actually
the chat bots, you mean? Do you mean the chat bots? I don't yet. I'm really excited about using it, but I've not used it yet.
Well, I think that the thing about it is it's totally free to use, and it is basically, I mean, in marketing terms, what are your thoughts on email marketing, first of all, before I say anything that's
good? I think email marketing is useful. I don't think it'll ever die, but I think from what I'm hearing, these chatbots are really connecting people in a way that email no longer does quite as well. The people are getting responses through chatbots that they used to get maybe 10 years ago from email.
Totally correct and wise words.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right, RJ. I see what you're saying. Definitely. But now my question is, because one of the reasons I've hesitated to use chatbots is that they're only used with pages, aren't they? You can't use them on a personal profile, can you?
That's correct. Yeah.
So that's been my one challenge because I generally build through my profile. And so I've kind of been debating whether I'm going to switch over to a page and then start from there and then be able to use those chatbots, which would be great. You know, I don't know. Hey, maybe somebody's got some comments on that. That'd be great.
Well, we could perhaps we can actually do it on the show next week as well, personal versus profile. But I mean, the thing is that there is, if you go live on your personal page and you go live on native Facebook, and then you're actually seen by all your friends, potentially. But Facebook are totally in control of that. And they will say which of your friends will see you.
Right.
But what you're actually not doing, if you stay on your page, I'm just being devil's advocate here. If you stay on your page, is that you will never go outside your circle of friends unless your circle of friends like or comment on the post. Because if they comment on the post, then their friends will see it. So at best, if you broadcast on your profile, you'll be seen by friends of friends. If you broadcast on a business page and you start with no followers, then it's going to be a struggle. But the thing is that you do then have potential to reach out to the 2.3 billion people who are on Facebook. Now, I'm not saying you'll reach the 2.3 billion. If we did, well, wow. But what you can do is you can build up a following. Now, we've done that on Belive in 5, and we're doing the same with the Live Video Hub. But broadcasting from your page means that if you broadcast from your profile, you've no chance of knowing how well you did. If you broadcast from your I've sent the message, John. If you broadcast from your page, then you've got all the analytics. So, for argument's sake, after this video, I will know how many people watch this show. I will know how long they watched for, and you're all wonderful, by the way. I will know what the highlights of the show were, because I'll see the peaks and troughs in the broadcast itself. I will know which geographical areas the show has been popular in. I would expect today that we will be seen in England and Colorado as being the two areas. I will know that the age range of people actually watching the show. I wouldn't expect many people under 25 to be watching us, and that's because we're not under 25 anymore. But that what I'm saying is, without getting too much on this, because it's a topic we can cover next week, is that you get so much information by going on your page. It's an uphill battle to start with. Right, okay. We do have a comment from John, and this is my friend John. He and I have been broadcasting together. Well, we reached show number 134 this week, which means we've been broadcasting together for 2 years, 30 weeks on Thursdays in the UK at 10 a.m. Eastern, which is pretty early your time in Colorado. But John is saying email works better than ever if well written.
Yeah.
So many of us have stopped sending emails on their chasing people on social media. In reality, there needs to be marketing everywhere in every way.
Yeah,
Wise words, John.
Good point. Yeah, it's a really good point.
Right. Okay. I basically, we all love the system that works for us, and I'm pulling on the side of messenger bots at the moment. I have an email list, but to say it's dormant would be overstating the case. Right.
One challenge, though, Stephen, with the chat bots is that you don't have if you lose access to Facebook, for example, you know, because you're on Facebook's platform, you don't have, in a sense, the safety of an email list, of communicating to people with your email list. So if you're using chatbot and still building an email list with the chatbots, wouldn't that be kind of, you know, a good strategy to use them hand in hand?
Yeah, I agree. That's an excellent strategy, because at the end of the day, you want to be hopefully platform independent.
Right.
So I totally take your point on that. Right. Well, amazingly, we've come to the end of the hour, and we have a tradition which you're just about to find out what it is on the show. Is that I open the show and my co-host closes it. So, Steve, if you would like, for the first time, and it's been a pleasure chatting for the last hour, and to everybody who's watched, thank you. It's over to you to close the show.
Hey, it's been great. I really enjoyed co-hosting with you, Steven, and I'm so glad that people were here and adding their comments has been awesome. You fabulous commenters, I hope you will join us as a guest next time. That would be awesome too. And for everybody, I hope you are on your way to fabulous, and that you have an awesome rest of your day.
Brilliant. From Wiltshire, England, it's goodbye for now. We'll both see you next week. And take care.
Thanks, Steven. Thanks, everybody.
And